Okay, let me just clarify. These are guys that need to have an impact because obviously, like LeBron, Steph, Giannis, you could do that. But if these guys have an impact, to me, they're going to set their teams up for some major success. Let's start in Lakerland, and we're going to go number 5, Anthony Davis, who I actually believe is the key to whatever it is the Lakers are going to do. He's shooting 57% from the field since the All-Star break, about 26 points. In the bubble, the year that they won, 57%, 28 points, led that team in minutes played. His versatility is undeniable. AD is at the bottom of my list to start. Then we go 4. All right, guys. Everybody keeps trying to convince me that the Warriors, they just need to get healthy. Even Klay Thompson said it. They need to get healthy. They got to hold on to the basketball. A big piece of their health is a guy that was 18-9 last year in the finals. That would be one Andrew Wiggins. Is his return going to potentially unlock the team that has basically been Jekyll and Hyde, home versus road? And yes, I know it's been the regular season. So if Andrew Wiggins returns to what we saw last year during the playoff run and in the finals in particular, okay, I could buy the Warriors. Then we start getting into some of the tandem conversation. These guys were in the finals 2 seasons ago, didn't quite pan out. And as much as we've talked about the addition of Kevin Durant, I actually think Phoenix, in particular, the guy that was just on the top of our list for most playoff games played without a ring, Chris Paul and Devin Booker make my list. Listen, everybody knows KD, easiest guy to play with. Put a ball out there, give him 4 other guys, he's gonna be fine. And I know that Devin is super excited about the space that they've played with. We know about what they've been able to do in the 8 games when they're all healthy. But Chris and Devin, Chris in particular, is still sort of the outlier. Now, impact could be maybe he isn't playing as much and you go to a backup, but we'll see. If he's on the floor, he has to be ready to go and maintain a high level of efficiency throughout the course of the postseason run. All right, number 2, we keep it moving. Another tandem, y'all, and it is in Philly, a team that for whatever reason can't quite figure it out when it comes to the postseason. Probably your MVP in this guy. Leading the league in assists in this guy. I love the way that James Harden's game has evolved to fit this Philadelphia 76ers squad as is. And Rondo, I'm gonna let you chime in here in a second, but I think you're right about him maybe needing to be a little bit more aggressive. We gotta see what that looks like. And last but not least, everybody's saying this man has won 2 regular season MVPs. Could he win a 3rd? It doesn't matter because he gets nothing done in the postseason. Well, Nikola Jokic, show these people what you potentially could do or could be. You gotta show up and lead this Denver Nuggets squad that is healthy for the first time in what seems like 3 years since we saw this team in the bubble in that series with Utah that everybody was super excited about. Finally, you have the roster around you that's potentially healthy. And so this is my list, but as Stephen A says, y'all, it could be a little fluid. What y'all think? There you go. There you go. You got a fluid for me, Rondo? Hey, team.
I did not do this.
I didn't see it.
I didn't do this last time.
They said that. All right.
You're a liar. I'm going to pull up the tape.
Talk to me, Rondo. What'd you think of my list?
I love your list. I agree. I agree. I might have a sleeper, though.
Tell me.
Cleveland Cavaliers.
Ooh, okay.
Darius Garland's playing great.
Love Darius.
Donovan Mitchell's who he is. The young kids, the big guys down low. I would say Karis LeVert.
Ooh.
If he steps up and plays the way I know that he can play personally,
Okay.
he can have a big impact on the playoff push.
Okay. I hadn't thought about Karis LeVert. Okay. What you got, JJ? Uh-oh, you don't like my list. I can hear it already. Go ahead. Come on.
Well,
tell me.
So there was confusion as to the sort of the definition and parameters.
Oh,
of the list.
here we go.
No, because I think
to my life, Monica.
hold on, based on how I thought the list was going to go, I thought you'd have more Andrew Wiggins types players versus MVP, MVP,
Okay, but let's talk.
17th all time in playoff scoring, 8th all time in playoff scoring.
Okay, but this part right here. I feel you. But this part right here, because these guys, not quite. I mean, got
here
to a finals.
for sure.
This part, that's the part, right?
Yeah. One thing I want to say on, because again, I think this is a great call.
Okay.
A great call because he was
Scrap the rest of the list.
I said this 2 weeks ago. They're not winning unless Andrew Wiggins is the version of Andrew Wiggins that we saw in last year's playoffs, particularly his defense on Ja, his defense on Luka, his defense on Tatum and Brown, his rebounding in that final series. They don't win a championship without the way he played. Love that call. I actually like this call too, because to me, as much as we talk about the 5th guy of the Phoenix Suns, that guy matters a lot.
Okay.
Both offensively and defensively.
Yeah.
As we get deeper into playoffs and teams start targeting people, is he the guy? Can he withstand getting put in ball screens 15, 20 times a game? So I like that call. With this, I just want to point out one thing.
His
you
numbers.
said, can he show up in the play? Like, this is a guy who averaged 31, 13,
I hear you.
and 6
I know
last
his
year,
numbers.
26, 11, and 6 for his career in the playoffs. Like, he's shown up. He's shown up.
So this one should be more Murray.
I like Murray.
Right,
I like Gordon.
I mean,
I like MPJ.
Gordon's a good one.
I like Murray because when they did make their push in the bubble,
it
was Murray. He was the guy we had to
Him
stop.
and Donovan, that duel was fantastic to watch. Okay.
Which conference has the better 4 versus 5 matchup?
Ooh, I think that in terms of the aesthetics and offensively appealing, the West has the more attractive matchup. But I think the better matchup that's tightly contested that I see going to 7 games is the Knicks and the Clippers, or Knicks and the Cavs, excuse me. I just think that those teams are so evenly matched. Obviously, the Cavs don't play with a ton of pace per se, but I think you're going to get some interesting calls in terms of defense out of this particular matchup. Of course, the stories Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Brunson, like that's something that I think is going to be really interesting. And then a lot to me is going to rest on Julius Randle, how he's able to play with the backline defense that the Cavs have, Mobley, and the guys back there that are really long. So I think that is the series that's going to be better.
And just so I don't know if you know, she also covers the Knicks.
cover
She's
the
got like 80 jobs.
Oh, that makes sense.
Women's basketball,
It does make
college,
sense, Rajon.
NBA.
Oh, it makes
she
sense.
does the Knicks.
Alan,
she
clear
does
it
the
out.
whole
This is
thing.
different.
So the whole deal.
I'm excited to see that
What
one.
you got, Rondo?
What you got?
I got the West. I'm gonna go West. You know, the history between Westbrook, KD. You got the Kawhi KD matchup. That's going to be interesting. Like I said, then you got 2 great coaches, Monty Williams and T. Lue. And a couple years back, Phoenix beat the Clippers, the team I actually played on that year, but they didn't have Kawhi. We didn't have Kawhi. So again, if it gets to 6 or 7, hopefully PG comes back, it gets interesting.
Okay.
The Western Conference matchup, of course, loses some of its luster because we don't know Paul George's availability. And to me, it would be a no-brainer to this question if Paul George was healthy and was able to start the season.
Really?
No-brainer.
Really? I just think the other series. Okay, go ahead.
And I'll tell you why.
Tell me why, JJ Redick.
I'm still going with Cleveland Knicks. But I'll tell you why, because you brought up the word pace.
Yeah.
And personally, I am not a fan of NBA basketball scored in the 80s and 90s. I like free-flowing, shooting, all that stuff. And you talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers, slowest pace in the league. Knicks, 5th slowest pace in the league. 2 of the 3 slowest half-court teams in the NBA.
I know.
Like, this is going to be a slog it out series. But I am intrigued by this matchup. And not just because of the storylines. I'm excited to see Darius Garland in his first playoff.
In the Garden.
Yes, he's a guy I'm a huge fan of. I thought he had a very underrated season because Donovan Mitchell gets a lot of the headlines for this team. But Darius Garland had a fantastic season, following up on an all-star year last year. You've got Evan Mobley, who I'm very curious to see how he does in his first playoff series, especially defensively. He's going to be tasked with guarding Julius Randle at times. He's going to be switched on to Brunson at times.
Right.
So I like that. Randle, can he bounce back from that Hawks series when he didn't play his best from 2 seasons ago? And then there's something at the end of the game in these 2 teams because the Cleveland Cavaliers struggled in clutch time games. That's one of the reasons on paper you're like, oh, they should be a contender. But they really struggle to close out games. And on the other side of that, you have Jalen Brunson, who has been one of the best clutch time players in the NBA this season. So if we're talking about slow games, they're likely going to be close. I'm excited to watch these teams play down the stretch of basketball games.
So basically, my first answer was right, that you think the prettier matchup is in the West.
100%.
But the tighter, the better. Like, I think that goes 7. Like, I just think that. You don't think it goes 7?
I think both series go 7, possibly.
You do? I don't think the West is going to go 7 if Paul George don't come back. I don't think it's going to go 7.
I can't count Kawhi out like that. I can't. He does.
So I mentioned this yesterday, and I want you guys to tell me if I'm tripping. When Kawhi went super mercenary and ran the table with the Raptors, they won on that title. I think a guy like Kyle Lowry mattered a lot. And not that there are not pieces around him with this Clippers roster that have experience deep into the playoffs. But there was something about, like, I hate to toss around leadership because so much happens behind the scenes that we don't see. But there was something about Kyle's presence to me that helped just kind of bring the whole thing together. And I have not seen that sort of cohesiveness consistently in the Clippers. Because I know 3 weeks ago, I was like, the Clippers are going to turn a corner. They about to run the table. It's their year. And then I was like, wait, are they actually? I just feel like there's something still not quite, and it's not even the Paul George
I think
thing.
I'm just going off of personal experience.
Okay.
Being in the locker room with the guys, Kawhi, PG, playing for Coach T. Lue, the preparation that they're going to have, not to discredit the Phoenix Suns or what Monty Williams is going to bring as well, because they did still beat us. But at the same time, the mindset, the focus that they're going to bring, the preparation, the readiness that they're going to have, I just can't count the Clippers out getting beaten 5. So if it does get to 6 or 7, I'm looking for PG to come back and save the show.
I actually have a question for you, but I want to follow up on what she said because you bring up Kyle Lowry and that Raptors team. I think Marc Gasol, who was a late season addition to that team, was just as important. His defense on, I was there, his defense on Joel Embiid in that series in the second round. Thanks for bringing up one of the low points of my life. But also his leadership as well. I think that was important. And then you had Fred VanVleet, who his wife gave birth to a child, and then all of a sudden he went on this incredible run, starting in Game 3 of the Milwaukee series, all the way through the finals. Clippers need somebody like that. They need a Fred VanVleet to step up and go on a run. Terrence Mann maybe could be that guy. My question to you, because you've alluded to this a few times, and I played for him when he was an assistant with Doc. But what makes T. Lue so special? Why do you have so much trust in him in a playoff series?
He's willing to think outside the box. He puts guys in different situations to be successful. He gives the opposing team difficult matchups to kind of adjust to late in the fourth. And also his counters in the fourth, that what makes him great. You know, his ATOs coming out of timeouts. We would run through walk-through plays for probably the first 30, 40 minutes. So guys, you know, you knew what your assignments were. You knew what tasks, what pick to set, and when particularly to go and set those screens. So I'm just big on preparation. That's what I pride myself on throughout my career in the playoffs, and I think they'll be well prepared, which a lot of teams will. But at the same time, you have those guys that have that experience, and you need a mix of guys that need a chip on their shoulder, that want to get there. The Russell Westbrook that's going to buy in and make sure it happens. The young PG and Bones. I don't know what happened between him and Plumlee, but you know, being a veteran team, I don't think that'll affect him as much as it will Minnesota.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.